Me called Happy Dance. And time now is 7 minutes just after 8 a.m. And every Tuesday, we chat to Mr. Alec once again with us in studio from the Almighty Warriors, chatting everything we need to know regarding health and wellness. And today is no different. Good morning, Mr. Alec.
Great to be with you. Thanks, Sinclair.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was awesome to have you at Jokes Aside the other day and have you train with us.
Yes. No, it was a great privilege. Look, we did this exercise. Am I allowed to expose these things?
Yeah, of course.
Look, we did volleyball, and this is not normal volleyball. These guys are jokes aside, and really, it's jokes aside. We're putting it all aside. They play volleyball with medicine balls. So we throw these medicine balls at one another over a net, and we score points thereof. I have to say, Mr. Alec, the team that I was on, we weren't winning so very well, but maybe next time.
Yeah, no, it's really good fun. Yeah, so they're actually slam balls that we use, and they vary in weight. We start off with about 3 kilos, and then we go to 5, 7, and sometimes we even play with a 10. So it becomes rather challenging, and as you found out, it becomes quite a good workout.
It definitely is. And look, I think for me, the biggest thing is I haven't trained that intense after this whole pandemic. And I think that's what we need to get into a bit today is, look, life after COVID, because I consider myself a fit person, but hanging around you and all of the people that were at Jokes Aside, I quickly realized that I've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, so today the topic for today is a means to an end, and I've got 2 scriptures that I'd like to kick off with, but what we're going to be speaking today about is specifically returning to training and fitness after COVID.
So this scripture here, let's start here with Romans chapter 15 and verse 5. It says, "Now may the God who gives the power of patient endurance, steadfastness," the Amplified Classic says, "and whom supplies encouragement, grant you to live in such mutual harmony and such full sympathy with one another in accordance with Christ Jesus."
Yeah, so I think the 2 verses, and we'll get to Hebrews 10:24 in a minute, but what we're trying to get to there is that we are there to support each other, to love, to helpful deeds, and to noble activities. And you can't do those if you are unhealthy, and if you are housing your spirit in an unhealthy body, it hampers your ability to perform helpful deeds and acts of noble service. So as long as we've got the perspective there as to why, and that's why I said it's a means to an end. So those are our goals that we're supposed to be striving towards. But in order to do that, you need to be in good health, and your health is a means to an end.
Very good. And Hebrews 10:24 says, "And let us consider and give attentive, cautious care to watching over one another, studying how we may stir up and stimulate or incite to love and helpful deeds and noble activities." Exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. So, so that's what we need to be doing. And in order to do that, we need to be healthy and strong. And recently, I've been getting a lot of questions from people who are struggling to get back to a level of good health and strength and wellness that they were at prior to having COVID. So we've got a couple of guidelines that we're going to go through just to make sure. And we're not talking here about your immediate return after the having survived Corona and COVID. So people that this is now, it should be a distant memory, but they are still battling to actually regain and get back to a state of wellness.
Look, I think I'll put up my hand first and say, look, how wellness was beforehand, or let me say 20 minutes on the treadmill pre-COVID and what it is today are completely 2 different worlds. Now, how do we get there? How do we start going back to where you were, or is that a distant memory that we must...
No, absolutely not. So you can get there, but that's again why we need to have that patient endurance. because you have to be able to persevere, and it's going to take a lot of effort. So the longer and the more severely you were affected by COVID, the harder it's going to be to get back to the state that you were in beforehand. So I want to encourage people, but at the same time, let's be realistic. It doesn't happen overnight, and you've got to put a lot of effort into to actually getting there. So, if you were in a state of poor health before you had COVID and you've survived, then you need to start off by being grateful that you've been given a second chance. And you definitely have a purpose here on earth. And in order to fulfill that, you need to look after your health, and get back into it as soon as you possibly can.
And I think a big mindset is, I mean, after you've, my wife personally had COVID just before she gave birth, but afterwards it's kind of like you want to retract and not go out so much and not get as active because you feel like you could be getting this virus again and you don't want to go back to the way that you felt. So how do we do that?
Well, the one of the plus sides of having survived it is that your body will now have be in a better position to fight it in the future, as you've built up that natural immunity from having survived it, which is a good thing. But it's a strange virus, and it affects everybody uniquely. So it becomes quite challenging to give general guidelines on how to get back to a good state when everybody has such different consequences of having had the disease. But in general, you need to start off by defining whether you had it mild or moderate or severe. So just in general is if you had it for less than 5 days, that's considered mild. If you had it for between 5 and 10 days, that's considered moderate. And if you had it for more than 10 days and hospitalization, etc., that's considered severe. So, as a base, you're wanting to not do anything mild for at least 10 days, afterwards moderate 17 and severe 24. These guidelines were sort of put out in a document by the High Performance Center here at Tuks University at Semley. So thanks to them for their guidance. But the essence of it is to do a gradual return to your training and to moderately increase the effort that you're putting into it. So you need to, there's a perceived scale of effort so that you can just apply yourself, 1 being really easy and 10 being an all-out effort. And you need to sort of graduate yourself and progress cautiously up, so that with the effort that you're putting into it.
So obviously COVID affects a lot of people, I hear, from in their chest, so respiratory things.
Yeah.
So is it, if when we're saying we're going through this in a gradual way, is cardio a good thing or a bad thing, or do we just go and do weights that doesn't get the heart rate up there?
Well, let me start by reading the checklist that they give. So, they're saying here, this is before you start training. You need to make sure that you do not have fever, severe cough, shortness of breath, chest pain, discomfort, racing heartbeat, a high resting heart rate, exercise fatigue, diarrhea, vomiting. So those are some of the symptoms that, if you have them, you must most certainly not be training. And then once you don't have them and you start training again, if you're training and you're exercising and you experience breathlessness, chest pain, discomfort, abnormal heart rate, dizziness, Those are the sort of symptoms that are there to warn you that you're going too far, too fast, and you must back off. So it's very important that you monitor yourself and that you don't let your ego get in the way of common sense and looking after your health. So I returned to training pretty quickly after having a moderate COVID. But I was very cautious and I monitored my heart rate and I kept it really low at sort of under 120 beats a minute for the first couple of weeks, and then I increased it by 10 beats a minute per week thereafter until I got back to being able to put all out efforts back into it, and that worked for me. So yeah, just a cautious approach.
So you also speak about nutrition in everything that you're doing, and I'm glad that you're also speaking from first-hand experience of someone who's had COVID and then getting back to that level of strength. Is nutrition part of that recovery process with the exercise?
Most certainly. So again, we've spoken about this so many times, but it's essential that you're eating enough protein, and that you cut down on all the highly processed foods and sugars and the carbohydrates that are. I'm not against eating carbohydrates. I'm just saying that you need to limit that, and the highly refined and processed foods. So eat your vegetables, eat fruit, eat as much protein as you can, because those are the building blocks that your body needs to be able to repair and build muscle. So if you are not eating properly, you're just going to make it even more difficult to get back into your exercise training and fitness.
Awesome. So with that mild COVID that you had and going back into training, how were you feeling from the first day? Maybe walk us through that, getting back to your level of fitness.
I felt from the beginning, I felt that I could and should be doing more. So I actually felt good, and I purposefully had to put the brakes on just to be cautious, because it's a known fact that if you go too hard too fast, you can cause permanent damage to your heart. So I was just being cautious, but I really felt as though I could have been doing more sooner, and I was just cautious. And today I'm now back training flat out, and I'm back where I was. So, but I think there's a couple of things that we need to sort of, and I'll just pick up on, and I read an interesting book, and the topic of the book is called Grit by a lady called Angela Duckworth, and there she talks about the formula for grit is talent times effort, which equals skill, and then skill times effort, which equals your achievement. So effort counts twice, and it's going to take a lot of effort. But what I wanted to sort of pick up on there is, once you've decided what your goal is that you're wanting to achieve, you need to have a look at the talent component, and you need to pick something that is really simple for you to do. So you're not trying to learn a new skill or do something. So start by doing something that you can do, walking, progress to running. Don't try and overcomplicate and make things really difficult for yourself to get back into an active lifestyle. Make it as simple as possible so that it's sustainable. So you need to firstly pick up what it is that you want to achieve, and then you need to remember that the effort in the equation counts twice. So it's going to take a lot of effort, and if you look at it, the discipline and diligence that you need, um, if they are lacking, then you really need to have a strong desire to glorify the Lord, which will help you to actually achieve and to put the effort in that's needed to get back to good health.
Look, at jokes aside, I think you were also, I guess, you practicing what you preach, because that patience, endurance, you can't do it by yourself. And what I liked is that you paired us up to kind of push each other in that. How important is it to have someone that is with you while you are trying to get back to your fitness levels?
It definitely helps if you've got that mutual accountability, if you've got a training partner, and there what we also do, just for example, is we will take somebody that has had the experience and knows the exercises, and then pair you with them, so that they can and help you, and teach you in a way to actually do the exercises, etc. But yes, there is always that level of competitiveness between the training partners, and it does help to push you a little bit outside of your comfort zone. So the where you want to be, and the biggest risk in the making things really simple and easy to achieve is that you become bored. So, in order to avoid boredom, you need to be pushing yourself about 3% outside of your comfort zone. And that will help you find that sweet spot where you can continue to make those gains and improve, but not overcook it, because the risk is that you do too much too fast, and then you end up being injured or getting ill, and then you set yourself back. So you want to avoid injury, and you want to avoid illness, and you want to push your limits a little bit more on on an ongoing basis. So it's to do all of that. It really does help if you've got the help and support of somebody else, or even just training in group activities. And I think you will have noticed, we're focusing on training you to improve your health, as opposed to looking at a specific performance improvement. So we've said this before. First, you train for health, then for strength and mobility, and only after that do you start looking at performance improvement, and finally it spills over to physique. So you really need to get the basics right and the foundation right, on which you can then build.
So I must not train because I want the six pack. I must train first and foremost because I want to be healthy.
Yeah, and what we're saying is that the desire to be healthy is founded on wanting to be able to do what we said right at the beginning, and that is to do helpful deeds and acts of noble good service. So when that's driving you, then you realize that you need to be healthy and well to achieve that, and then you're training with that as a perspective. You're not training there from a vanity point of view to actually just end up with the six pack. So you need to be useful to yourself and those around you, and you need to work on your health in order for you to be in a position to live out your purpose. And again, everybody is unique, and we are unique. So your training program and your nutrition all need to be uniquely adapted to what it is that you wanting to do and achieve. So you doesn't help that you put diesel in a petrol car. You need to think of your body as a machine, and then you need to fuel it for purpose and for what it is that you're wanting to arrive at. So if you look at people now, athletes, if you look at a power lifter and a bodybuilder and a ballerina and a jockey, they are vastly different in their physiques, in what they eat, in how they train, but they have built that ability step by step. So when they were born, they were all on a equal footing. So you need to realize that you direct the change, and you need to put that effort in to be able to do that and achieve that.
Awesome. Great conversation here, and we're on Facebook Live, and this will be up on our page, 103 FM, if you want to catch it and you didn't catch all the nuggets thereof. Once again, every Tuesday, chatting to Mr. Alec, and today, very, very good conversation. I need to go and re-listen to this just to help me once again, and for all those who have struggled with the COVID complications, there's a mild, moderate, and a heavy level, and you can get back to the level of fitness.
You most certainly can, and realize it's going to take effort, and all the best, and with that journey, and good luck.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thank you. Jokes aside.